So last class we started computer security. And so my screen is visible to all of you. So is it visible to you? Right. So today we are topic is going to be basic control hijacking attacks. It's a very interesting and very important to all of us. So may I know this basic control hijacking attacks are visible na this particular slide set? Slides are visible to all of you? Okay, thank you. So this is a very interesting topic to all of us. And most of you know you are all very good in C programming. So our main target is to prove C programming is very vulnerable. That is the main topic. This type of attacks, sometimes we call it as a memory safety attacks. Memory safety attacks. Sometimes people are going to be say these attacks are going to be related to the buffer overflow attacks. Buffer overflow attacks. The mainly here we need to be observe few problems while you are going to be implement any software. Suppose you want to design any perfect, so that means we may have a perfect design, perfect specification, perfect algorithm, but still have implementation vulnerabilities. Keep in the mind what we have a perfect design, perfect specification, perfect algorithms. Even though we have some implementation vulnerabilities, that might be configurational errors, implementation errors. These are going to be the largest single class of security errors exploited in the practice. Clear? So that's why these kind of software flaws, that means particularly we can say this prevalent of software flaws, we can call it as a memory safety attacks. So what is the meaning of a memory safety? Which refers to ensuring the integrity of programs, data structures, preventing attacks from reading and writing of memory locations other than those intended by the programmer. This is the main motto of our memory safety algorithm. So are you getting my point? Memory safety means you have to be secure all your data structures while you are writing or implementing your software. Just I would like to give a small example over here. So I'm writing in the chat box so that you can suggest any vulnerability is there in that particular small piece of C program. Right? I'm just writing just to have a look. Sorry, character buff. Buff 18. A small program. This is the very easiest to say something, right? Like I have a character buffer. Then after I'm writing void vulnerable function vul get as buff. So don't that case sensitive forgot about. Just you need to be observe this one and find out what kind of problem is there in this. Anybody can tell? Is it a vulnerable code or not? Just I can. Is it vulnerable or not? Anybody can answer for me. Okay, most of you are very good in C programming. You can suggest me what kind of problem is there in this. Suppose problems are there. What is the problem in this? While executing, what kind of problems we might be find? No, bound checking. What is the meaning of bound checking? It can read extra character also. Okay, buff 90 will change content of the other part of the memory. Okay. Then what happens? Then what would be the major problem? Suppose if you may choose this kind of functions. So here we can observe these kind of problems are going to be called as a buffer overflow problems. What we call buffer overflow problems. Right. So I'm coming back to slides. So that's why our topic is mainly take our target machine, web server. Target machine is going to be web server. So why we need to be talking about the web server? You may observe few things. Let's suppose I have an URL. I may type URL. URL is in what form? Text form. A string. I can say this as a string. This string is going to be provided as the input to the web server. Why? Because for HTTP request in the form of string, and that too in the form of your URL you're sending, that URL is going to be received by the web server and it has to be processed that URL. If suppose there in that implementation, suppose these kind of piece of codes are there, what happens? Then this kind of problem is there, then the attacker execute arbitrary code on target by hijacking application control flow. This would be the major problem. So that's why mainly in this class, we are specifically discussing about two major concepts. One is a buffer overflow and integer overflow. So first we will concentrate on buffer overflow. What is the buffer overflow? And how this is going to be create a problem to us while we are implementing any or while we are executing any C program, right? A buffer overflow bug is one where the programmer fails to perform adequate bound checks, triggering an out of bounds memory access that writes beyond the bounds of some memory region. So this is called buffer overflow. We'll see how exactly the buffer overflow is going to be work. And the significant problems related to this particular buffer overflow attacks are going to be observed from 2000. I think in 1997 onwards, these are linear, exponentially grown up. But now these attacks are linearly performing compared to web security attacks. That's why this much of interest, this much of importance is there for this kind of attacks. First of all, we want to understand this particular problem. What are the needed concepts? Let's suppose you understand C functions and how we are organizing the stack memory, how we are organizing heap memory. After that, whatever the system calls are there, how the system calls are going to be made to call. And finally, how exact system call is performing. These particular concepts we should understood. Then only we can able to say be able to write safe and secure code. Writing secure code is an art. Why? Because if you are not going to be you are not supposed to be write any any code which is going to be very that means it's going to be it's not vulnerable. That's a great achievement. Otherwise, attackers always look for this kind of piece of code and they try to access your particular system, and they're going to be steal all your valuable information. That's why, first of all, what attacker needs to know, they need to know what hardware you are using, what are the softwares you are using, and what kind of operating system you are using at the targeted machine. This is the main thing. So what is the hardware? How that hardware is going to be store all the information. So whether any problems are there or not in that storing that particular values. Now the very popular attacks are there hardware level also. Most of the people are working on hardware level. Right. We don't have a time. That's why we don't want to consider much information related to hardware security. But we will discuss about the programming and operating system level security issues. We'll see. For example, you might be use your Linux and Windows systems. Mostly these systems are going to run on x86 system. And there, your CPU and OS, you may observe there may be the concept of little Indian beginning problem is there x86 versus your Motorola, and stack frame structure is there like your Unix versus Windows. So we should understand very carefully all these particular concepts. We'll come over here just to observe how a Linux process memory layout is there. So most of the discussion in our class based on the Linux operating system only, right? You can observe here. You can observe here. Here, the user stack is there. User stack. That means higher addresses are going to be occupied by the user stack. That means your stack memory. And this is the stack pointer. Then after there is a unused space. After that you have your program related shared libraries are there. This is going to be your shared libraries. And finally, your heap memory, whatever heap memory variables are all are there, that would be stored at this particular location. And so before this is stored, that runtime memory starts, you have a break statement. Then after, you were loaded from execution some particular text information is the text information, whatever text your program in the form of text, the text would be stored. Text is going to be stored at this particular space, and after that that means loading your execution followed by that information. The point we need to be understand here, if suppose any stack variable is grown up, what happens? This is going to be occupy the lower addresses. This is going to be occupy the lower addresses. That might be your shared library, that might be your heap memory. It occupies. That means whenever stack grows, it is going to occupy the lower addresses. At the same time, we can observe another one. Suppose whenever this heap memory is going to be overflowed, this is going to be occupy the higher addresses. It's going to be occupy the higher address. Even your shared library is also there. Suppose you may hijack the shared libraries, this is also going to be occupy the higher addresses. That's why we have two problems to understand over here. One is going to be the stack overflow, other one is going to be the heap overflow. Right. So here, one main point we need to be observed. We need to observe stack memory. Sometimes we call it as a static. We can store static variables. Dynamic variables we are going to be stored at a heap memory. Right. So we should be very careful while we are writing a program, how we are using, how we are declaring the variable, how we are using the variable, any particular opportunity we are providing to the attacker or not. That kind of information we should very carefully observe. Otherwise, you would be out of your business. We'll study how stack frame is going to be organized. How stack frame is going to be organized. How stack frame is going to be organized? We have arguments, then return address followed by stack frame pointer. You have some exception handler if it is going to be your program supports, and local variable, call is saved register. Finally, after call is saved register, your stack pointer is going to be pointed. So these addresses we are going to be save these addresses from higher address locations to lower address locations. This is the stack growth. Right. Here you carefully observe a small function I provided. Use this function and can you fill in this form? So write it down, take pen and paper, write it down, this program related, where the arguments are going to be stored, and after that, where is our character buffer 128, what is the string copy function, do something buff. So where it is going to be stored, let me know, because you have a work it out. So here in this function, you may observe string str is there, pointer str, where it stores at the argument plus. Then after return address followed by the stack frame pointer followed by your local variable. Local variable is your buffer 128. And here we are discussing about a 32-bit operating system. 32-bit operating system. So how much value is there your return address? 4 byte return address is there, and stack frame pointer value is also 4 byte. And whatever character buffer is there 128, the character buffer is 128 here is stored. That means this is going to be stored 128 byte information followed by and so on. Your arguments are there here. So that means I want to create attack on this particular program. What I supposed to be that, where is the problem in this particular program? Anybody can answer for me? I can check in my chat box. Where is the problem in this particular function? Anybody can answer for this? Now, whatever the program which I provided on slides, Yeah, str can be greater than, okay, 128 characters. Then what happens to you? Yeah, what happens? 128, it might be more than that. What happens if in that case? That is the major, problem we try to understand. Yeah, what happens if suppose this kind of attack is going to happen? It stores only and overflow buffer. Okay, overflow leads to changing the return address. Correct. Buffer overflow is going to be leads to change the return address. What okay, attacker can achieve? Suppose in that case, what happens? Yeah, stack pointer and return address can be changed. Okay, no issue. How, okay, sensitive information is going to be leaked? First of all, he has to attack on that. First of all, he is going to be attack on that. It can run some malware function. How it can run some malware function? Yeah, correct. So these kind of programs are there. Attacker can execute, okay, its code on, okay, our machine. But how? No, how you can, okay, return, okay, some other, okay, important location address. So we should be very careful, okay. So that's why this kind of functions always we will write it down in our programming. So I will come to you, and okay, I would like to give, okay, little information to you. Whatever you people said, okay, that is correct. Here, our stack frame is going to be organized like this for this particular function. Let's suppose we may provide, okay, string length is 136 bytes long. Why I chosen 136 bytes only? Your buffer length is how much here? Your buffer length is 128 bytes. Then how much I am providing as, okay, input, okay, that means, okay, value to this particular, okay, str. The length is going to be 138 bytes long. That means, okay, I told you in the in the last discussion, the stack frame pointer value is 4 bytes. Return address value is also 4 bytes. 4 plus 4, 8 bytes. So that's why here I am providing 8 bytes. I need not do more than that. This is called a crafty attacker. A crafty attacker is going to be observe your program, where the weaknesses are there in the program. He's try to find that, and okay, what is the required that means, okay, that means value we should provide. These kind of activities are going to be done by the crafty attackers. That's why while you are writing your program, you should be more careful to write. So that means you need to be habituated to write, like a safe code and safe and secure code. For that, you need to be understand here. Suppose it is going to be 138 bytes long. What happens? My character buffer size is going to be 136 here. Why? Because here string copy function is there. In the string copy function, suppose, okay, what I can say, right? Here, okay, 128 bytes are there, but here I am supplying as a 136 bytes. That means this is 136 bytes, and this is going to be 128 byte. 128 byte here. So while you are performing the string copy function doesn't have to say the destination size. So destination size is not known to, okay, that means if suppose you are not going to limit to that, then the overflow is going to be occur. That's why what happens if suppose, okay, overflow is going to be happen. The string argument occupies 136 bytes whenever you are going to be copying. Then what happens? After this, you have stack frame pointer, new stack frame pointer, new array address. Then means, okay, that means your okay, program, what is going to happen? This may cause to crash your complete program, or it may leads to a core dump problem. Right. Do you understand what I'm stating to you? Clear? So the problem is we don't have a length checking in string copy function. The problem with the string copy function. Here we don't have any, that's why I told you, we don't have any destination size information. so that source can supply something so that might be leads to create overflow. That overflow might be leads to create some attacks. Create some attacks. So this is okay. It's a simple to understand. But if suppose any malicious user can store any program, any malware inside the database of that particular system. That particular system is running this kind of like a program. Then he is going to be execute that program P. But how he is going to be execute that program P? Just you observe. Just you need to be observe alpha 1 shell code, then execute that alpha 1 shell code. That would be provide okay, a beautiful look understanding about the stack exploit. Beautiful understanding about stack exploit. Just I would like to say something to you here. You try to understand. Suppose attacker code P runs in the stack. So that the main aim of the attacker is going to be to run this program P, so that he is going to create a buffer overflow attack on your particular program, which is your plan to run. So that what he will do, the attacker is to determine the return address. Then after that, he is going to be create some NOP slide. NOP slide. In the NOP slide, what will be there? No operation slide. This we call as a no operation slide. Means okay, we are just okay, it is execute. Suppose okay, I can say if suppose I may create an overflow attack that creates a new return address. So from that new return address, I can use NOP or XOR AX, AX or INCAX. Any of these functions I may use, and okay, I may iteratively okay call these functions. All these that means okay, this is going to execute one memory byte by another memory byte, and so on. Finally, it leads to reach to the execute a program P. Means very simple. You just create this NOP slide. The NOP slide means okay. First I will execute after new return address. Whatever byte is there, I will execute that byte. Then that will be point to the next byte. That will be point to the next byte. Likewise, I am going to be traverse towards to my program P. Likewise, I am going to be move towards to program P. If suppose that attacker is much more clever, then what he will do? He will perform a simple attack. What is the simple attack? He will put some dollars inside his program P, so that he will understood where the return address of that particular program P. So whenever he is going to create his buffer overflow attack, he understood okay how many NOP slides are required. Based on that, he is going to create that many NOP slides to reach to execute okay program P. This is a very interesting problem for you. You can implement this kind of attacks also. You can implement this kind of attacks. Right. So another very interesting problem is the stack smashing attack. Before I am going to stack smashing attack, I would like to give some small problems to you. So you try to solve and find where the problems are there, what the problems are there. You can create here. Yeah, after now slide, I can create one slide. I can create another slide. Here, you can see one small problem I can write.
Hello.
Huh?
Can you explain this again? How does the attacker determine the return address?
Here, suppose I will explain. I can share my screen. I can
Yes,
I can share my screen to understand about this one. I can wait 1 minute. Light a queue. I'm sharing my whiteboard just to try to understand this. I'm sharing this just to check it out.
yes.
Yeah, you can join. Yeah, here you may have to observe. This is my, okay, suppose, okay, you can understand this is my, okay, memory, and somewhere the malicious user program P stored here. This is, okay, program P, and my program is at here. Suppose my program is here. Okay, my program is here, and okay, my return address. Once the attacker created overflow on my program, this is my program. This is, okay, you need to be treated as, okay, malicious program. So I can write here MP means malicious program. This is my actual program. Here he is going to create some overflow attack. Then overflow attack means, okay, here return address is there. He changed that return address. So that a newer return address is here. That means, okay, attacker, okay, landed over here. Then here he start to use NOP slide. That means the first XOR function execute on this byte. Then this is pointing to the next, okay, byte. So he is going to be execute next byte, and so on. This is going to be move towards to program P. This is one particular problem. I'm telling. This is one particular problem. So likewise, he is going to be reached to the malicious program and executes that malicious program. Why? Because, okay, a simple example I will provide it to you to understand. Suppose, okay, any particular, okay, any particular, okay, I need one perfect example to use. So, suppose movieshackers.com or some kind of websites are there. Whenever you want to, okay, watch online movie, they will ask you to execute .exe file. Sometimes, okay, we don't know, okay, they're asking .exe file. Okay, just, okay, I want to watch the movie. So they need, okay, to execute this .exe file. We will automatically will execute the .exe file. What is there inside the .exe file? You don't know. So if you inside that some malicious program is there, that malicious program is going to be stored somewhere in your memory. So ultimately, attacker wants to execute this particular malicious program. That's why he will find, okay, which particular, okay, program are going to be execute, are you have. That program has some bug. He try to find the bug and execute the program. He creates and he creates, okay, overflow attack here, so that, okay, he will reach to somewhere in the memory. That place, that return address might be pointing to the garbage value. That's why your program is not going to function properly. But ultimately, from that point, the attacker is going to be execute this no operation slide, and he is moved from byte to byte, and so on, one byte to other byte, from this byte to this byte, from this byte to this byte, and this byte to next byte, and so on. Finally, he will reach to the program P return address. Whenever it reaches to the program P return address, he is going to be execute that. If suppose this attacker is very clever attacker, this attacker is going to be a very clever attacker. What he will do? He is going to use some special symbols inside his program. That means, okay, anywhere he may use some $. Your memory cannot, okay, that means, okay, memory it's going to be stored that particular special symbols. So he will understood where this, okay, particular, okay, special symbols are there. If suppose I know this particular address location, that means, okay, this special symbols where are there, that is going to be read by that, okay, malicious program, so that, okay, whenever a new return address created from here, suppose this is the new return address place, from this to this, how many addresses are there, so that you need to be create that many NOP slide, NOP operations. That many operations you need to perform to reach this one. So that's why you need not to, okay, execute, okay, byte by byte. Okay, immediately you have to write a for loop, and that for loop is going to be create this many NOP slide, and automatically that will be reached to this, okay, particular program P. So this is the, okay, mostly the very crafty people are going to be use this kind of, okay, attack, and they're going to be create problem to the innocent, okay, victims. Right. So I have one more problem here. you can try to solve this problem and tell me whether it is a secure or not secure. Suppose I may write like same problem, character of 80 integer authenticated equal to 0 and also what kind of problems you might be identify on this. You can write over here what kind of problem you might be identified, whether it is more vulnerable or less vulnerable. It's a more vulnerable or a less vulnerable. So here this is generally we will use for a login routine. So the login routine, what it is going to be observed, whether you have authenticated value or not. It checks that. So authenticated value is going to be stored in the memory right after buffer. And if suppose somebody may return, attacker can write 81 bytes of data to this one, what happens? So your authenticated value is going to be true. If your authenticated value is going to be true, automatically attacker can execute his own. That means it's much more the first position compared to the previous example. Another example I would like to provide you. What the problem is there in this? You try to find out, right? Wide, in this, what kind of problems generally we will observe this kind of code? So this is going to be enables a more serious attack. The attacker can write FNPTR with any address of their choosing, redirecting program execution. So here, this is going to be enables more serious attack. The attacker can overwrite FNPTR with any address of their choosing and redirecting program execution to some other memory location. Direct into some other memory location. If suppose, okay, that attacker is a crafty attacker, he can supply another any input that consists of malicious machine instructions followed by few bytes that overwrite FNPTR with some address like something, okay, he's going to write it. So this kind of attacks, we call it as okay, malicious code injection attacks. What we call malicious code injection. That means, okay, this kind of okay program sample help, that means help to the crafty attacker to create the malicious code injection attacks. Whenever this kind of a malicious code injection attacks are there, that allows attacker to seize the control of your program. That allows to seize your control of your program. So these kind of okay serious problems are there. Oh, for instance, I can okay give a small example to you. Web server that receives a request from client across the network and process them. Web server is going to receive the request from the any client. Likewise only, if the web server contains a buffer overrun in the code that process such a request, and a malicious client would be able to seize control of the web server. So that if the web server is running as a root, once the attacker seizes control that particular machine, the attacker can do anything that root can do. These malicious code injection attacks are very, very prominent. Very, very prominent. That's why mostly stack-based attacks are going to be leads to take control of the particular remote machine. Remote machine. So these are the examples, and tomorrow class we will find more examples and more okay problems we try to solve, and we will try to learn a few more attacks like stack smashing attack, heap overflow attack, format string vulnerabilities, and integer overflow attacks. These kind of attacks we will discuss in the next class. Any questionnaires are there, please okay drop on my chat box so that I can okay explain you furthermore. And most probably I can prepare okay one particular okay exam tomorrow. Quiz, okay, I will take at least 15 minutes quiz. So be prepared for whatever syllabus we completed till now. From that, okay, I will take a quiz. So from 12 to, we have 12 to 12:45 take a class, then 12:45 to 1 o'clock I can, that means okay, I can engage my class. From 1 to 1:20, I will conduct this examination. Be prepared for that exam. So these exams are going to be, that marks are going to be considered for your examination. Fine. So any questions are there? If you don't have any question, please say no, so that okay, I can close this session.
Sir, how does the attacker actually converts this in between code into non-operational NOP?
No operation he is going to
Because
create. No operations, no NOP slide. Attacker creates this one. That means he also doesn't know how many no operations are required. NOPs are required. That's why blindly he will okay run that okay many times so that okay he will reach to the program P. But he is a clever and crafty. What he will do, he will use some special symbols in his program so that he understood memory location of that program P okay, written address. He will understood so that whenever he created this overflow attack, he finds okay how many okay NOPs are required so that he may create that many NOPs so that quickly he will execute that attack. Otherwise, the attack scenario is going to be a bit slow because one byte to another byte, other byte to another byte. That attacker has to move from one byte to another byte, from that byte to another byte, and so on. He has to move towards to the program P. He also doesn't know where the program P is there in the memory sometimes.
Okay, sir, got it.
Are you getting my point? Huh?
Yes,
He doesn't know where the program P is there in the memory. That's why he is going to create okay n number of okay NOP operations to reach that particular program P. If he is a crafty, he will use some special symbols in his program P, so that he understood where that program P is in store, and once he created overflow, he understood where that new memory address. So how many no operation slides are required? He will understood immediately. He may create that many no operation slides, so that he is going to be easily reach to the program P to execute. Okay, we'll continue this. Right, thank you.
So there was one more request from the class side. Can you share the slides now?
All details I will share this week. Why? Because next week you have exam, no?
Yes, sir. That is why we have to start
Next week,
preparing.
next week you have exam. That's why I will share all my information. Mostly I prepared some of my quizzes also. Quizzes means assignments. I will share that assignments with you. Don't copy and submit it to me. Why? Because last time also the same problem happened. If you are copying and you may help your friends, you will lose your grades. Please be quite aware about this one. Don't say something XYZ, why? Because it's a virtual mode. We can't say who is right, who is wrong. Everybody looks like right. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Right,
So
thank
you
you.
will share the slides in this week, by the end of this week.
Mostly tomorrow or day after tomorrow, I will share all my files with you
Okay,
with the
sir.
detailed description.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you very much.